All right, we call to order the regular board meeting of June 13th, 2024. It's called to order at 6:32 PM. Can I get a roll call?
Mazer.
Brianna Texoni here.
Mask on here. Close it. Can I get a, oh yeah, we have to do the, okay. Oh. Any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the June 13th agenda. Thank you, Mr. Mesco.
Can I get a motion?
I motion.
I'll second.
Vote?
So I motion to approve the agenda for the board meeting on June 13th.
I'll second.
Call for question.
Mazer.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on. Do we have any public participation?
There are no public participation cards pulled at this moment. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Mesco.
Can I get a motion to adjourn to closed session? Okay. Closed session, we may discuss conference with labor negotiators, public employee discussion, dismissal, release, conference with legal counsel, or student matters. Can I get a motion to convene or to
All motion.
I'll second.
call the question?
Mazer.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on.
Paul Gap, aye.
Sorry, we were long in closed session. We will call this open session meeting back to order at 7:56 p.m. Mr. Owen, would you help us with the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Civility statement. When conducting the district's business, we will strive to communicate clearly and concisely with respect for the time of others. We'll listen objectively, carefully considering the opinions of others, understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, demeaning, and intimidating behaviors, understand and respect district policies and procedures, maintain a respect for the rich history of the district and the efforts of others who have served in the past. We have come out of closed session. There is nothing to report. There is no action taken in closed session. Tab 6, public comments, recognition, and reports. Do we have public comment?
No request this evening, Mr. Falsgraf.
Thank you. Add a rep. Hearing nothing. CSEA rep. Hearing nothing. Thank you all for a wonderful year of service. Student representative to the board.
Thank you. Well, the school year's over, so I don't have anything really to report. Congratulations on the class of 2024, my peers. We had a great run, and good luck to all the students there with their next school year. Next year, hopefully it'll be fantastic, and good luck to anyone taking summer school. Thank you.
Thank you, Aislinn. Superintendent report.
All right, thank you, Board President. Tonight I'll be covering Goal 1, student achievement for this evening. As Aislinn alluded to, we had a very busy and exciting last 2 weeks closing out that school year. So congratulations to all. On May 29th at our Vasquez Gym, our community was invited to the awesome Meadowlark ASMO Spring Concert. Once again, our talented students from Meadowlark, with the support of our ASMO friends, hit a home run with their performances. Congratulations, students. On June 3rd and 4th, again, Meadowlark, they put on the Gold Dust or Bust performance. I believe this is the second year in a row for our fourth graders who put on this production. This year it was led by our fourth grade teachers, our wonderful teachers, Miss Bogelski and Miss O'Brien. The performance highlights the great stampede of 49ers to the California Goldfields. So well done, students. Vasquez Senior Walk. Our district has many, many wonderful and heartfelt traditions, but one of my favorites happens to be our Vasquez Senior Walk. On June 5th, the same day of our high school graduation, our graduating seniors paid a visit to both High Desert and Meadowlark as they walked through the halls where it all began. It's a testament of their successful journey here at our district. I believe we have a video, right, Alex? Thank you, sir. Courtesy of Ms. Lundquist and her students.
Sam, any favorite high school memories?
I also say prom 2024.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that. And last but definitely not least, for our 2024 promoted 4th and 8th graders, and of course, our seniors who graduated last Wednesday, we're immensely proud of all that you have accomplished. We celebrate your hard work, dedication, and countless hours invested to reach this milestone. Once again, many congratulations. On a separate note, leading into student achievement is our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Tonight is Mr. Vensko's last board meeting with us as he's approaching his departure from our district. We're wishing you endless opportunities of success in your future endeavors. Your hard work, contributions have made a significant impact, and we'll always be grateful here. We hope your new colleagues appreciate you as much as we do, but probably doubtful of that. I'm just kidding. Again, best wishes on your next adventure, and we'll see you around, sir. Thank you. That concludes my report.
All right. Do we have submissions?
There are no submissions this evening, thanks.
Okay, we'll move into tab 8, consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening will have the minutes of the last board meeting, the warrant register, purchase orders, summary of annual contracts, Williams lawsuit settlement, 4th quarter report 202324, master contract to help group, master contact Cal Psych Works 202425, agreement School Mint Incorporated, agreement CSUN Professional School Psychology Fieldwork and Internship, and agreement with K&T Plumbing. Before we move this in, does anyone want to pull something off of the agenda, the consent agenda? No? Do I have a motion to introduce?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call to question.
Cameron, I.
Mays, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mascot, aye.
Falls Giraffe, aye. Reminder, the board is provided with a packet with all of these items, and these items are available to the public for purview 72 hours before the meeting. The consent agenda has passed. Personnel, tab 9, personnel action, item A,
I'll
action
motion.
report.
Second.
Just to mention a few successes in our ongoing efforts to go ahead and be proactive and making sure that our vacancies are all filled for our fall 24 of opening of schools. We're pleased to have filled quite a few teacher vacancies, just to name a few: 5th grade teacher, the Vasquez High School English teacher, and arts teacher for fall of 24. So we're excited to have that on the par. So thank you to everybody for your efforts.
Discussion. Call to question.
Cameron, I.
Mays, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mascot, aye.
Falls Giraffe, aye. Item B, job description, athletic director. This is a first read, not an action item.
Yes, sir. So a proposed classified leadership role as a first read to support our rapidly growing athletic programs between High Desert as well as Vasquez. In addition to be lending support as the district athletic director to our existing athletic directors, both at High Desert as well as Vasquez, as well as supporting our coaches. So within the draft job description, district athletic director, you'll find qualifications, knowledge requirements, and their essential duties, and our goals that really tie into our newly adopted strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there discussion?
I'm actually very enthusiastic about this position, and
this is the investment we're making into continuing to support our sports programs. And this, the existing athletic director roles will remain.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we pull that up on the screen, that document, please? Maybe we can right click on the tab and there it is. I just wanted that to daylight so everybody can see it, that it was. Does anyone prefer to have it read aloud? Lester?
No, I think I'm okay.
I'm not okay.
You want to read it out loud?
Please.
All right. The district athletic director, basic function. The district athletic director provides leadership in planning, implementation, coordination, supervision, and evaluation of interscholastic athletic programs for the middle and high schools. The district athletic director may not coach in district athletic programs. The position reports to the superintendent of schools. Hours subject to responsibilities of position and may frequently require evening and weekend duties. Qualifications: bachelor's degree from an accredited institution, experienced as an athletic director or head coach, first aid and CPR certification or eligibility for certification. Requires knowledge in Title IX, CIF rules, and school district policy. Ability 2, requires excellent attention to detail and follow through to meet interscholastic athletic responsibilities, significant confidential responsibilities due to student and staff issues, and fiscal responsibilities in the areas of school budget. Essential duties: supervise all coaches on an annual basis, evaluate athletic program on an annual basis, and recommend and implement changes to improve athletic programs. Follow all rules and regulations of CIF, including preparing eligibility lists, submitting schedules, dues, team records, and other documents that pertain to CIF. Work with the school principal in interviewing and making recommendations to renew coaches or hire new coaches. Provide orientation and in-service program for coaches and other athletic personnel. Must collaborate in the training of coaches and athletic personnel regarding issues and prevention of sexual harassment in the athletics programs, as well as the athletic compliance framework. Work with principal on issues concerning coaches. Support cross-functionality of efforts with ASB. Implement district attendance, behavior, and tardy consequence guidelines and district student academic eligibility guidelines. Consult with school administration in resolving student-athlete problems and issues. Prepare and maintain a budget for interscholastic athletic program and assist the fields and ground supervisor in developing a fields budget. Prepare reports as required by the school administration, superintendent, and school board. Work with the school administration, community organizations, and state athletic directors to improve and promote the athletic program. Report, document, and file all athletic injuries per district protocols. Work with coaches to educate students and parents on proper training protocols to minimize injuries. Check student eligibility per CIF and school board policy. Plan, supervise, and attend recognition programs for school athletes. Consult with school administration on the monthly athletic calendar. Supervise on-site athletic activities and perform athletic-related duties during the months of June, July, and August as needed. Assist maintenance and operations supervisor with inspecting fields and facilities and recommending repair or maintenance in a timely manner prior to events. Keep an updated inventory of all athletic equipment and uniforms. Keep supplies, equipment, uniforms in satisfactory condition, and order all new and replacement supplies, equipment, and uniforms when necessary. Provide each coach with equipment, team medical supplies, and uniforms prior to the season, and ensures that each coach returns all equipment, unused supplies, and uniforms. Schedule the use of all athletic facilities and fields for middle and high school athletic programs and practices following school procedures and in coordination with the school site athletic director. In conjunction with school site athletic director, arrange for employees for all home games, including ticket sellers and takers, law enforcement, security, custodians, timekeepers, scorekeepers, and other required personnel. Assume responsibility for cancellation of games as circumstances require, safeguarding athletic participants and district resources and rescheduling in the event of cancellation and notification to the maintenance and operations supervisor. Arrange and confirm bus or other transportation for athletic participants. Verify that all participants have proper permission forms for alternate transportation if requested. Communicate the athletic transportation policy to all coaches responsible for away game transportation. Conduct preseason athlete, parent, and coaches meeting per school board policy. Represent the schools and district at CIF meetings and events. Communicate issues with school and non-policy athletic facilities and fields to the field and ground supervisor or facilities director. Work with coaches to make sure that all student athletes and parents know the rules and regulations. Maintain an open line of communication with the school site athletic director to fulfill both the middle and high school athletic programs, as well as athletic teams regarding use of AAD USD athletic facilities and fields, and accommodate if possible. Develop, review, revise the athletic handbook and any athletic agreement that each athlete, parent, coach must abide by, with recommendations from administration and coaches and subject to school district approval. Goals: cohesive climate culture. Implement consistent values and principles across all athletic teams to promote a sense of unity and purpose. Encourage collaboration and mutual support among student, athletes, coaches, and staff to create a positive and inclusive environment. Student-athlete journey. Establish clear pathways for student athletes interested in athletics from middle school through high school. Provide guidance and resources to help student athletes navigate the transition between middle and high school sports programs. Support athletic leagues. Collaborate with external stakeholders to share resources, facilities, and expertise, thereby enriching the overall athletics experience for participants. Actively participate in community events and initiatives to showcase the talent and achievements of our student athletes and build strong relationships with the broader community. Enhancing coaching culture. Establish a framework for professional development and ongoing training to support coaches in their roles. Foster a culture of continuous improvement by providing coaches with access to best practices, resources, and mentorship opportunities. The last part we can skip.
Perfect. Thank you. The reason I asked Lester to read this aloud, and I'm going to cycle back through what's going on.
What's that?
The reason I asked Lester to read through this was he's had a great deal of participation, and there are people on this board who have had great deal of participation with the youth of this community. Through my career as a school board, there have been times that there have been people at that microphone kind of insinuating I'm responsible for the bus not showing up. There's conduct at games with coaches where you have parents being told that they can't watch the game. I know that there's that jerk parent who has to tell the coach what to do and be up and yelling and using foul language and something. But my understanding is I run a district that is open and transparent. And I don't want to get into details here. Not everyone in this district birthed the child that they have. There's some very fragile students that come into this district through programs. I want parents without, so let's put it this way. Let's make it real easy. I don't run on the football field when I'm at the game watching kids play. And I don't yell things out. And I'm not one of those jerk parents. So if you're a parent and you're doing that, it's a problem. Expect the coaches to react poorly, but do not exclude someone who wants to watch the game. They're not here to check you out. Your job description and your ability to do your job does that. The district does that. But I need this to turn into something where we are very professional in how we conduct a business, that the buses, that everything is scheduled, the funding, the way the boosters are treated, the money flow, all of that needs to be brought under an umbrella where there's order and understanding. And the biggest part about this is there is a career path in here in which you have the right coach saying, you cannot play for me because your grades aren't right. How do we get you the support? The days of going to the math teacher and saying, come on, you got to give him at least a D minus. He's playing in the state championship. Those days are over. Title IX is female athlete funding. There's all kinds of things. If you're going to take this job, understand. If you're going to apply for that job, understand what it is and what it's calling for, because there's not going to be a lot of wiggle room. That said, do we want to go back through? Aislinn, do you have anything?
Nope, just thank you for reading that all.
I think it's great. As Lester said, we definitely need somebody that's in charge of this for our kids, and to make sure that everybody's doing what they need to. So I think it's a good move.
Brianna.
Yeah, I mean, enthusiasm is a great word for it. And I think that for our town and our school district, with as involved as our kids are in sports, making an investment in that is a big deal. So thank you.
Perfect. Good. Let's move on to, yeah, that was not an action item. That was a first read. Business Services Charter Oversight Presentation.
Thank you. Our Director of Charter Services, Ms. Shay Pattison, she's already at the podium, ready to rock and roll. This is an information item, a charter overview, different types of charter schools that we've authorized, the district authorized charters, and their petition renewal process, and then some. So with that, Ms. Pattison.
Good evening, Board President Fallsgraf, board members, community, Dr. Sahakian. My name is Nishay Pattison. I'm the Director of Charter Services for Acton Agua Dulce, and tonight I'm providing you a brief overview, as Dr. Sahakian said, of the charter schools and the renewal of the petitions and the process. So in the overview, so that you understand the processes and why different charter schools are, the renewal petitions are reviewed differently, yet the same. So we have different types of charter schools that we're going to look at. The district authorized charter schools that are renewing for the 24-25 school year, the criteria for the charter petition renewals, and the petition review process. And under the Ed Code section 47606.4, there had been a 2-year automatic extension for all charter schools that were expiring within a certain year, January 1st, 2022 through June 30th of 2025. And then after that, there was another 1-year automatic extension. So for the past 3 years, we would have been working on the petition renewal process, but there had been an extension. And so now we're at the point where those extensions have expired. And so now we're back in the renewal processes. Oh, this is the one. So we have our different types of charter schools. We have our traditional brick and mortar schools, which are essentially like district schools in which students are sitting in seats. They attend every day. And so we call those essentially the brick and mortar schools. We have non-classroom based schools that include hybrids. And when we talk about non-classroom based schools, we could be talking about a school that is completely virtual online. And we could be talking about programs that are more hybrids in which students attend typically 2 days out of the week, and the remainder of their educational programs are either done online or they're done as an independent study. We have dashboard alternative school status, and that is that the alternative accountability system serves at-risk or high-risk or at-promise students. So essentially what you're going to see at a DAS school would be students who are behind a number of credits. Typically, they're at least like a grade to 2 grade levels behind. You'll see students that perhaps have to work. You have students that may have families. You have students that were not successful in other programs. And so you'll see that the DAS schools are serving students that may need to work full time. They may need to be supporting their families. And so these dashboard alternative schools are serving these students, and therefore in looking at the dashboard, it's going to be a different criteria that we're looking at because there are different circumstances for the accomplishments, both academically for these students. We have Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act, which is the WIOA partnerships. And the WIOA partnerships allow some of our charters to operate in areas that are not within our boundaries. And the reason for that is because they are in partnership that is providing students with supports such as finding careers, resume writing. It can be where they're giving them opportunities to have internships, job training. So these schools work in partnership with federal Job Corps and WIOA organizations such as Goodwill to provide trainings for students. On the next, this slide, we have, these are the 3 charters that we have that are up for renewal in our next school year, the 24-25 school year. As you can see, all of the schools are non-classroom based. Assurance Learning Academy and Options for Youth are more of a hybrid program, whereas iLead Online is completely virtual. There are no seats based in the online program. Assurance Learning Academy and Options for Youth are both DAS schools and operate WIOA programs. In reviewing the petitions, the primary focus is on academic performance. And just as our schools have a dashboard in which we have red, orange, yellow, green, and blue, the charters have been put in categories, whether they are high performing, low performing, or average performing. And depending on where they have fallen in their performance category, essentially is dictating their number of years that they are allowed to be renewed for, and also the status of being able to renew an automatic. I'm not going to say automatic because there are things that can prevent them from being renewed. However, in a high performing category, that would fall under a shall renew. So all of these are shall, meaning that if they meet the criteria, then there would be no reason to deny, because based on their academic performance, they are high performing. Low performing schools, there also would be a threshold for considering their petition renewal, and essentially even a low performing school would have the ability to try and correct the deficiencies that they have in order to be approved. And the average performing student group is a may not deny. You could turn to the next one. I kind of got ahead of myself. So the average performing is the may deny upon making written findings. So with that, if the school failed to meet or make sufficient progress towards academic standards, and if the closure would be in the best interest of pupils, and that would be given greater weight, and that charter would renew for 5 years, and the high performing 5 to 7 years. If we can go back to the next one. So yeah, so the low performing, as I mentioned, it says shall not renew, but starting at that 26-27, which is our next chunk of charters that would be renewing, they would be eligible if they were in a low performing to renew for 2 years if we make the findings that the school is taking meaningful steps to address low performance. Because of course, just as regular brick and mortar district schools are allowed to adopt plans and work with the county or the state to improve their academics, so too shall charter schools. Back to the DAS, instead of following the strict scheme above, the chartering authority shall consider, in addition to the charter school's performance on the dashboard, performance on alternative metrics. So essentially, there is a meeting that has been conducted with our DAS schools to look at academic performance. And typically this has been going on for more than a year. During the review and the oversight process, it's a continuous conversation about where the academics are going. It's a review of programs that are working, programs that need to be implemented, and changes that they may be making. And then the alternative metrics is also a validated measure that a list that the CDE had come up with for validated performance measures. So for grounds for denial, besides the low performing or average performing schools, there are reasons that the board could possibly deny a renewal petition. The board may only deny a renewal petition if it finds that the petition presents an unsound educational program. So of course, if there are educational programs that are not working and yet they continue to not work, that would be a reason to say that that educational program is unsound. Petitioners are demonstrably unlikely to successfully implement the petitions program. So I guess I'll give an example. If they wanted to start an academy in which it was a CTE pathway and they didn't have the personnel, they didn't have the training, so if there were too many things that made it unlikely that they could implement the program, then that would possibly be a reason to deny renewal. No signatures required. There are no signatures required with a renewal. Typically, if it's a new petition, they have to have parent signatures and signatures that show interest in the school and teacher interest. The petition doesn't contain all required affirmations, and those are in the matrix for all petitions. If it lacks reasonably comprehensive descriptions of the 15 elements, which, as I mentioned, are part of the renewal for all charters. If the petition does not declare whether it is an exclusive public school employer. The asterisks at 7 and 8 also have to do with the interest of the community and fiscal impact of the existing services of programs. The district has a negative certification, but in those starred areas, go to the next one, it has to, when you talk about expansion to additional sites, which might be an argument for additional grade levels, may be carved off from a renewal and treated as a separate material revision. So for example, if we have a charter that has decided that that they would like to add additional sites and grade levels, and it was not in their original petition, that could be carved out and put in as a material revision. There are certain circumstances that we could ask that be put separate from the renewal. So the grounds of denial also, when it comes to budget and the impact of the budget certification, may not be used to deny a renewal, but may be used to deny a material revision which has been carved off from the renewal. So the staff processes when reviewing a petition and reviewing petition materials, when we review the petition and we go through the elements, we are looking to see if we believe that any of the legally permissible grounds for denial exist. So when we're looking through the petition, we're looking through the elements, we're looking through the educational, the financial, all elements of the charter petition to see that they are eligible to renew with us. Review academic performance data. What category does the school fall into? Does it qualify for renewal? The DAS schools have that alternative matrix, so they would not fall under the performance data that a school that has to follow the dashboard accountability, because it's an alternative. For DAS programs that do not have alternative academic measures, what does it look like? For a WIOA program, it's a review of the partnership agreements and independently verified who, where, when of providing services to the students, which is done. So for example, if Goodwill happens to be one of the partnerships, the representative from Goodwill would be called, would be asked, what services do you provide? When we do our oversight visits, that is one of the things that we are always looking for and finding out who is the WIOA partner, what does the WIOA partner do, and so that is reviewed every year when we do our oversight visits. We prepare a recommendation and proposal resolution for the board. So once the charter department reviews all of the petition, and we make a recommendation along with legal to make a recommendation of denial or approval. And our recommendation is published 15 days in advance per ed code, and that is to give the charters an opportunity to speak to why the denial was made. And so essentially, with the timelines, I just want to give you a little bit of information on the timeline. So once the submission happens, the public hearing has to occur within 60 days of the receipt of the renewal petition. The approval or denial of the petition occurs within 90 days of the receipt of the petition, unless there's a mutual agreement between the charter and the district that we will extend an additional 30 days. So it could be fact finding, it could be anything. But as long as we mutually agree, we can extend it 30 days. And from there, the staff recommendation findings, as I mentioned, is posted 15 days before the board's decision. Have any questions?
Discussion.
I'm not going to pretend like I understood any of that, but thank you for your presentation.
I concur.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You said was it low performing and average or is it only low that's a not renew?
Well, a shall not. And so the middle performing, you still do all of the findings, and that one kind of is more of the time frames of renewal. So typically the average means that they have met the dashboard requirements, and so there's nothing truly wrong with their academics because they fall within an average range. So essentially it's a matter of reviewing the academic data. So it's kind of a confirmation of what they're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, 10 time. When I'm going to be careful. When I started in this district, the practice was you would take one of those rooms over there and you would rent it to a charter. They would list that as their charter operational address. And because that room was too full based on square footage, you would jump into San Bernardino. That's where we were. That's as simple as it was. The charter money was coming in so hot and heavy that they were looking for projects like rip out a library and a sped room and another sped room to make this happen. All the charter law that you are reading now, the 957, the 1500 series, came out of Newhall versus this district. The state auditor was looking at this district. Shortly after that happened, our superintendent, get the magnitude of this, our superintendent and our chief financial officer were under to report to a grand jury and not share what they were talking about to the board. That's what charters was when I came here. There was a charter hearing, which I was being accosted down there on the end. Luckily, I was a stepchild, so I liked that kind of thing. But someone stood at that podium and I asked questions and I was just getting tore up from the floor up. And those people ended up under federal indictment for stealing $80 million. And this district was one of them that opened the door to that. That looks very different than what we're seeing here. So I'm the one that asked for this. I want the charters out there to know, number one, I have a reputation out there, and I need everybody to understand where I'm going to be coming from. And I need everybody to understand what the rules are. These gentlemen are here fairly frequently, so they understand what the rules are. There's a lot of moving parts here. Let's say this. When you decide to authorize charters, what LACO is to us, if everybody understands LACO, Los Angeles County Office of Education, we become that role to the charter. So if you've got somebody that's got a whole floor of people running the charters at LACO, and we got one person, and the mistakes that you make at the charter school, there's lawsuits. We deal with things back there. Always getting better, always getting better. Thanks, everybody. I can't talk about that, but you know, the things that we're considering they're nowhere near what they were. But LACO cannot come in here and tell you how to run the district. They used to have a financial advisor here that would go, because we were negative certification without the charter revenue. So when you see that reference to the district certification rating, which is negative, certified, or positive, that can't be a motive for whether or not you authorize charters. So instead of someone giving us the right amount of money that we need, the rural districts, there's going to be something popping up on the agenda fairly soon in which a rural district is punished. But the funding model punishes the district. And some people make decisions to try to get enough money to teach the kids, and you have to respect that. I don't think anybody meant anything bad by it, but we've come such a long ways. In Shay's position, there's a fine line between going in and acting all accusatory, like some Fallsgraf is out to get you, and she's my weapon. This is why board members do not direct staff. Here's a perfect example. Shay has to be able to go in. She cannot have an animostic relationship with the charter. She's not there to be the watchdog, but she's there to kind of look at things. Kevin has to go through their financials. These two positions are really key to protecting us from liabilities. Because if you're just turning your head and you're real chummy with everybody, on the other side, you can be combative, and the charter can say, we are losing our local control. That means our ability in this district to function in a way that best serves our children of the voters that we represent. LACO cannot take away local control, and in serving the function we do and having Shay as our representative, we can't take away that local control. Now, some board members might start thinking this out and going, well, wait a minute here. I don't have enough floor space. So how can I get some floor space? Well, I can deny a charter. That's not legal. That's not legal. I like to think that charter kids go to charter schools because they choose to go there. No one's making them go there. And maybe it's a good fit for them. I like to think that our district is the best fit for every elementary school student in the United States of America, and anybody that's going to come here in the next 10 years. I really believe that, but I can't force that opinion on others. So we can't motivate our decisions up here by enrollment, by saying, okay, well, if I make a decision up here or paint somebody out badly, and I don't want Shay to ever feel that kind of pressure, because I want enrollment, I want fiscal self-sufficiency, and I want floor space for those kids. And inherently, there's a clash there, and I want that out in the open. So when you're coming in here asking for a renewal, bring your best stuff, and you know what to do. I do want to talk a little bit about this WIOA thing because it's hard to understand. I put a lot of time in knowing about this stuff. The federal government gives out funds to certain groups of people who are kind of at risk. I think there's a Title I element in here somewhere. But they give big blocks of funding to corporations like Walmart, like whoever, and they use those funds to give them to vendors who actually have programs that fit this. And that's what WIOA means to a charter. So you will hear me ask, have you had a change in your WIOA partnership? If somebody says, well, we don't have one now, then you've lost the ability to be where you're at and functioning. And I want to say this, when we start digging in up here about performance and that kind of thing, in Shay's world, if all of a sudden the board goes off track, it kind of sounds like I'm pro-charter here, doesn't it? But at the end of the day, if the board goes off track and starts getting way down deep into the numbers and we find something, at least in my mind, that makes sense, like remember that movie A Beautiful Mind, where at the end of it, the papers weren't real? What that would suggest is that Shay, in overseeing all of this for so long, and all of a sudden we find something that Shay couldn't find, that kind of inflects that maybe your oversight hasn't been that great. So that's a two-edged sword. This is not a new charter position. Most of these are coming back. What I don't want to find, even if I caused it, when the charter that's over in Agua Dulce now came in, there was a charter that had been there that failed. And there was a concern in the community that maybe there were interests involved, and the initial term was for 5 years. And I was pushing so it has 3. So if you find a relationship where some of these charters are necessary and have those relationships, and one that has a relationship to the ones that are coming up this year is not till next year, I'll need that revealed when we have our discussion. So it would be my preference that the one that's here, that the others are dependent on, that we don't discuss the dependent charters ahead of the main one and create some type of problem down the road. I've said a lot. Does anybody else want to loop back around? Good. Thank you, Shay. Excellent presentation. B, California High-Speed Rail Authority formal invitation. I put this one on the agenda. I'll move this in. Do I have a second? I hate to read everything every time, but we know that the idea that the high-speed rail was coming through here. The Acton Town Council, Jackie over there, everybody has done so much work for so long. We're not going to get a lawyer and fight all that and be the guinea pig while we squander away all the money that we are supposed to be using for our kids. But I got this letter, and it sounds like a form letter. I'm going to read it. It's in the agenda. It's the attachment. If you live in Acton Agua Dulce, you need to know this. I want you to think about getting out a map before I read this and looking at, people tend not to walk up a mountain to get to work. They want to take the low spot where the path is and water is there. And people tend to congregate in the low spots. That's just human nature. So that said, a letter is addressed to me, Board President. It came out May 24, 2024. Dear Board President Fallsgraf, on behalf of the California High-Speed Rail Authority, we are contacting you in accordance with the provisions of California Public Resources Code section number of the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, regarding the Palmdale to Burbank project section final environmental impact report, environmental impact statement, EIRs and EIS for the California High-Speed Rail HSR project. The authority has determined that the following schools within your district are located within 1/4 mile, 1/4 mile of the proposed HSR project: Inspire Charter School, High Desert Middle School, Community Collaborative Charter Scale Leadership Academy, Vasquez High School, and Agua Dulce Elementary School. As discussed in the final EIS, there is a possibility that project construction could involve handling substances that are classified as extremely hazardous and could result in hazardous emissions. The authority has taken steps to avoid health and safety impacts at schools by incorporating a mitigation measure, limiting the use of extremely hazardous materials within 1/4 mile of a school. This project minimizes air emissions during construction by requiring the construction contractor to use renewable diesel fuel in Tier 4 engines. The authority also has included a mitigation measure. There's a number there to require the construction contractor to use zero emission or near zero emission vehicles and off-road equipment. This list is not exhausted by the measures that have been developed by the authority to avoid or minimize the potential for impacts on nearby schools. I'm going to skip some stuff here. It talks about availability of materials and studies. But if the district would like to meet and further consult with the authority representatives regarding any potential impact of the high-speed rail project on its schools and procedures that will be used to avoid, reduce, or eliminate potential impacts, please contact the district authority outreach team at this number and this email address. So about, Eric, it seems like it was a year ago, we got on, they were having a public hearing and we got on and both read a statement. I still have mine, they recorded it. And I am concerned that this was undergrounded. So when they have this machine, there's a metro project, a train tunnel going in the city I work in. Instead of this big machine that bores it, well, that stuff that comes out of there gets daylighted somewhere. And we have mines here and there's stuff, you know, they used to get gold out and extract stuff. So who knows what's down there? And my comment was that I am concerned about the tailings that they're bringing out becoming airborne near our schools. And so those are read in. Now, I'm not going to treat this like a form letter. I asked that this be put on the agenda and we're going to take action tonight to take these people up in their offer. I want them at that microphone explaining to the residents of our community on live camera what the risks are to our kids. It's probably not going to happen for a decade or two, but I do want this read in the record. And I'd like to make a motion that the superintendent contact the California High-Speed Rail Authority representative listed in this document and invite them to an open session board meeting at which they will explain what they have offered to explain. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion from anyone? Call the question.
Cameron, I.
Mays, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mascana.
Paul's graph. I'd like to provide some clarity here. Ms. Aislinn has graduated from Vasquez High School. The school that she graduated from here is on this list, and I think that's very significant. Thank you for your participation. Thank you, board members. This is an example of good work. Subject C, tabs, item C, excuse me, 2024, 2025 LCAP hearing. Paula, lovely to see you.
Thank you for that opportunity to present our LCAP local control accountability plan. I'll be presenting the last 3 years. We end the 3-year cycle. And so I'll be reviewing our goals from that cycle. And then I will be presenting and reviewing our new goals presented for the next 3 years. So the local control accountability plan is an instructional planning document that supplements the district's budget. It provides goals and actions the district takes to close the educational achievement gap between uneducated students and the general population. And it provides a forum for us to interact with our educational partners and to get their input on important items and to help move our district towards higher achievement for our students. As I said earlier, it's a 3-year plan. So we begin a new cycle for 2014. And then it also includes benchmark and measurement data, including progress year over year. And most of those benchmarks and metrics are required by the state.
Hang on, sorry.
Yeah.
I've just been reminded this is a hearing. We should open the hearing at 8. Let's call it 8:40. Please proceed. Thank you.
So, like I said, it's a 3-year plan that describes goals, actions, services, and expenditures to support positive student outcomes, and it's a continuous improvement cycle. We go through the chart on the left where we look at measurable outcomes, we list actions, with stuff that I'll be reviewing with you this evening. We set goals, and then we identify needs based on those goals, and we analyze the goals each year to document our progress and to make updates to the plan, and then we look at it in the process. So the components of the LCAP must be posted, and the document is assembled in the following way. There's a template with budget overview for parents. That's the first part of the document when it's published that people see. And there's instructions for the template. And then the template piece that we put together is, especially in the new one, we put together a plan summary. We document and share how we engage our educational partners. We then list our goals and our actions. That's based on data from the LCAP mostly, and some of that data is from data sets as well. And then we document increase and improve services for foster youth, low income, and English learners. When I say unduplicated students, that's the group of students that are identified as unduplicated students. The action tables include the planned expenditures and contributing actions and annual update tables. That's a lot of the stuff that Kevin gets to present for us. And then there's an instruction. So the process of engaging educational partners involves us consulting with our partners, working with advisory committees, districts, as well as county offices of education are required to do that. We review our school plans. You commonly hear us call those SIPSAs, and we consult with our SOPA. And so some of our advisory committees are our school site councils, our strategic planning team, our DLAC, which is our District Language Advisory Committee, and our ELAC, which is our Site Language Advisory Committee, and our PTO and our PTSO, which are Parent Teacher Student Organization. And then the local state priorities are listed. We have to identify and address each of those priorities within the goals. We created 4 goals for the new LCAP, and it addresses each one of those priorities. So just a quick review, what's underneath are the actions that were developed 3 years ago. Our first goal was to provide a high quality educational system for all students, focusing on high academic rigor with a multi-tiered system, with a focus on narrowing the achievement gap for all student groups. And then our second goal was eliminating barriers to student success and maximizing learning time. All students and families will be engaged and connected and to be active participants in a safe and healthy school environment. And our third goal was involving parents and community members in decision-making at the district and school levels, and providing connections between community and schools to foster investment in education and provide meaningful and transparent communication with all stakeholders. We strove to ensure that parents and students and teachers felt safe at our schools, and that we were providing a safe environment for students to learn. And goal 4 was ensuring that secondary students are on track to graduate from high school, are college and career ready, and experience academic progress and success in a broad course of study, and keep the graduation rate at 95% or higher. And our final goal was that the district would continue to provide a safe, secure, and drug-free learning environment for our students, that students would have access to standard and learning materials and a safe, secure, and pleasing learning environment. So each one of those actions, and I'm not going to go back over each one of those, but each one of those actions was reviewed. We used data to address where we were. I know you guys have the first read, so that very first part of the LCAP tells you over 3 years what the data was. You can see our growth, and there are still areas for growth. And then there was analysis as it relates to this is what we did, and there were strengths and weaknesses or areas for improvement. That's already been reviewed with LACO, so we're on track for that. The new part is the big part. So we created 4 new goals. So our goal 1, and again, these are our actions. So some of the actions have changed. They're very similar. I moved some of them around. And then some of them also are dictated by metrics that are required. So students will demonstrate grade level knowledge in all core subjects and graduate in 4 years in line with AAB USD graduation requirements. All students, English learners, foster youth, and students eligible for free and reduced meal programs, and other students who have been less academically successful in the past will have access to a robust course selection that meets their needs and will demonstrate academic achievement. And our second goal is students will be in school every day in physical and cognitive environments that are safe, caring, clean, conducive to learning, and allow students to thrive. All facilities will be in good repair and equipped for 21st century learning. And our goal 3 is that the district will recruit and retain quality employees as measured by full employment of teaching staff with appropriate credentials and place an appropriate assignment. And our final goal is that parents and guardians will feel welcomed at our schools, have sufficient two-way communication with our schools, and are provided with knowledge and skills to successfully support and advocate for their children. And the approval process involves having the LCAP adopted by July 1st so that it will be up for adoption or vote approval at our next board meeting. Then we submit to the County Office of Education, which is LACO, within 5 days of adoption. By August 15th, the County Office of Education can request clarification in writing. And within that 15 days of receiving response from the district, the county may provide recommendations for amendment. And then we would, as the district, consider the recommendations in a public meeting within 15 days. And the County Office of Education has until October 8th to approve it. The budget can't be approved until the LCAP is approved. So are there any questions?
Board.
I don't have questions. I have comments. I know this is a big deal. This is a lot of work, a lot of man hours, a lot of blood, sweat, tears put into that. So I just want to congratulate you on putting together a well thought out LCAP. Like that's fantastic. Thank you. I know that's a lot of work.
I'm glad somebody does. Thank you very much for your efforts on this. I know there's a lot goes into it for sure. And I think just for the community as well, if you ever wanted to know what the district was up to, it is here in excruciating detail. It's 85 pages of documentation there that you can pour through. I do not believe you will be found wanting for information. In relation to the strategic plan, is it possible to tie them together? Like I know we're fulfilling our requirement for what we have to deliver, but it might make sense to, at a minimum, just put a link to the strategic plan alongside this in the available documentation, or maybe we could draw some conclusions or draw the connections for
we can connect them, and also I can create a document that lists our 4 goals and how they align with our strategic plan.
I think that would be helpful.
My original goal was, and my thought was, to use the exact same goals from our strategic plan. They just didn't quite 100% line up, but they do align. So I can let you, when you look at the goals 1 through 4, they overlap in more than one area with our strategic goals. So I could create kind of a crosswalk, if you will, to show which ones align to it.
I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
And just to piggyback on that, Dr. Chamberlain, great point, Mr. Mescon. When we adopted the 2030 strategic plan, with the current LCAP, we did the alignment. And so on our website as well, with the comprehensive strategic plan document, you'll see which LCAP goals with the existing adopted LCAP plan ties in with the strategic plan elements, because there's a lot of overlap, and that was very deliberate when we're planning both documents.
I like the 30,000 foot view of what the goals are, because the goals are kind of documented in our agenda, which agenda items due to this and this. And I think it's a compliment from this board that nobody's getting way out in the weeds and ask you minutia, that it's there and these are the programs. And then I think LACO comes back, if they have something that they're really, really concerned about, that would come back to us anyway. So you're handing this off to them, and then they'll do what they do. So I love the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think that ends the hearing at 9:01. Thanks, board members, for keeping me on track here. Now we will go to item D, which is a 2024-2025 adopted budget hearing, and that I will open the public hearing at 9:01.
Well, good evening, board members. And first, before I start, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be the assistant superintendent of business for the last year and some change. It's been a really rewarding year. I really appreciate the staff, the board members, the students, and the parents. I felt welcome from day 9:30 when I first came here to my first board meeting. So thank you, and it's a testament to the wonderful family that Acton Agua Dulce is. So thank you for that.
Thank you. That doesn't ease any of my concerns about your departure, but thank you for sharing.
That's okay, no problem. I will be here for the next 45 minutes to go over our 24-25 budget in great detail. No, I'm just kidding. So tonight So tonight I'll just go through the budget cycle to kind of give an overview. We'll go through, as I've done in previous, go through the planning factors, as this is a budgetary document. So that's the best we can do with the information using the planning factors. We'll go through our estimated actuals, adopted budget, onto the multi-year projections that we have to include, and then I'll go through our next steps and considerations. So the budget cycle, right? So technically for the 24-25, this is actually the first report that you will be seeing. It is presented alongside actually report number 4 for 23-24, which is the estimated actuals. And the reason we have to present both the estimated actuals and the adopted budget at the same time is so that we can have the beginning balance for the 24 and 25 school year. Again, so these estimated actuals are through, they technically are through April 30th, but because we present them so late, we can kind of use a little bit more information throughout the month of May. So again, we're at report 1. We're going to go through our adopted budget. And again, it's presented alongside with our 23-24 actuals. So if we go on to the next slide. Again, as I mentioned, a budget and any of these projections is only as good as the planning factors that we use. And planning factors, sometimes they're good for a half a second. By the time I come up here, they might be old and outdated. It's just, we are taking a snapshot in time. So our enrollment, we're projecting, again, our enrollment from this year was 1,034. So we're projecting the flat enrollment. We've done our initial projections and we're pretty much right around that as of right now. Maybe a little bit higher, but as the summer goes along, it kind of fluctuates here and there. Our actual ADA, this 938.6 was our P2 ADA from this last year. And so, which is an attendance rate just shy of 91. Which is about 1% better than we were last year. We were at 89.8, if I remember correctly. And so we're about 1% better this year, hoping that, we continue that trend and go up another %, hopefully maybe 2 in the next. But because we can't guarantee that, we budget a little conservatively and hit the 91, just under 91% attendance rate. So that puts our funded COLA at the same 938.6 through all 3 years. One good bit of note that the legislature actually just adopted their version of the budget actually earlier this morning. And so they are planning or they've sent the budget to the governor that has an adopted and a funded COLA of 1.07. When I was here at second interim, we were looking, or at the May revise, we were actually looking at 0.78, I think is what we were at. So luckily, we got a little bit better. The only unfortunate part about that is 1.07 COLA on the LCFF. It still puts us in a overall negative revenue year over year, in the sense of our on the natural expenditures, our step and column, our CPI, all those things really more equate to like 3 or 4%. So when the state gives us a COLA less than 4%, we're actually losing money each year, or purchasing power, if you will. Again, average duplicated count, we're increasing a little bit. We're actually almost about 71% of our student population is that, and that will help our concentration and supplemental and concentration funding through the CFF. Then you have mandate, block grant, bottom, and restricted. Those are programs that we get each year for each of those various funding. So if we want to go to the next, so I talked about our revenues, and so our planning factors for our expenditures. I won't go through each one, but again, this is what we use to build our what you call our 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, and 7s. We are showing that STRS is flat for the next 3 years, and our PERS is relatively flat. STRS is locked in by law, and they have to vote to increase it. Same with PERS, but the PERS has a little more fluctuation because they don't have a limit on how much the employers can charge for as in STRS. Our staffing, we don't show any staffing declines because we're not decreasing students, we're actually staying flat. So all of our staffing at this point is relatively flat, and that's shown in our planning factors. Class size, in the next couple years, we're looking at the only major significant change is that UPK will have a 20-to-2 ratio, meaning that there has to be at least, it's a 10-to-1 at the end of the day. So they allow more staff to be there with the younger students. So we have to plan for that, and we have. So, all right. So what does that all mean? So our estimated actuals are unrestricted, and I like to break it out unrestricted to restricted, only to show that restricted a lot of times has a lot of one-time funding, has funding that is like our grants that we've received that are limited time funding, some of them. And so your unrestricted is really your bread and butter. That's where the district operates. It's everything else that doesn't fall on the restricted. So on our 23-24 estimated actuals, our revenues totaled 12.4 million. Our expenditures are at 14, and so we have a net deficit of about $1.5 million. And that's due to a couple of things. We had settlements from 22-23 that had finalized in 23-24. And then we've also included the negotiated settlements that have happened this year as well. So that is why the large deficit in this year. And then in our 24-25, we've actually increased our revenues by about 500,000. Again, a portion of that is due to our LCFF funding and additional supplemental and concentration grant because we have a higher unduplicated count. Our expenditures are down between the 2 years, about 600,000, again, pulling out those one-time negotiated settlements that, well, again, are not ongoing. And then that will lead us to a net deficit of 400,000 this coming year with an ending balance of about 8.7. Again, on the restricted side, the major differences in why it's going down is we have on our revenues, it's going down because our one-time funding like ESSER and a couple of the other state-funded one-time funds are expiring, or we have used all of them. So from year over year, we will not see those funds come through. And on the flip side, because in federal or in any most restricted programs have a revenue in, expenditure has to match. And so therefore, if your revenues are down, your expenditures are down. So that's kind of why it's pretty closely aligned there. We do show a net increase on our restricted side of about 161 for this current year. And that's mostly due to the ELOP funding. ELOP is that Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, and the state and the governor, it's one of his babies. And so they fund districts to allow them to provide after-school care and additional care during the summer. And so we have Sunny Days as our provider of that. And we've sent as many kids as we possibly can, but sometimes the state money is a little more than what we can spend, and we are looking at other ways to try to use that additional funding. So with any adopted budget, one of the goals and what's different about the adopted budget process versus our interim is there actually isn't any certification for adopted budget. There isn't a positive, negative, or qualified. It's just a presentation and then Waco approves the budget as long as you're not completely, saying that you're going to go negative or anything like that. So, but you still have to provide a multi-year projection. And it's a great budgeting tool to show where the district is currently and where it will be in the next 3 years. One of the big takeaways from here is, yes, we are showing a slight deficit spending and unrestricted over the next 3 years. Our revenues are increasing again because of our annual COLAs for LCFF. And our expenditures are also increasing due to, like I said, on the natural causes. You have step and column, you have potential, the PERS increase. CPI is another one that increases our costs. So we're not changing too much in terms of the unrestricted side. A lot of our action kind of hits our restricted budgets with the one-time grants that we've received and any hopefully potentially new grants that we pick up along the way. So having said all that, that's unrestricted to restricted, but what we end up looking at combined multi-year projection, if you want to move to the next slide, this is kind of the overall district budget. So we're pretty well, overall, we're just about a balanced budget, which is what you want in a kind of a tough year right now. We are a little bit deficit spending, but I think that there are ways that we can, look, and again, our projections are only good, for blink of an eye, and they're now changing based on the state budget, the economy, all that good stuff kind of goes into that. So at the end of the day, we have an average available reserve percentage of just under 31% in 24-25, and then 32 and 33% for the next 3 years. So overall, we're in a very healthy spot. It's good where we're at, but we need to always be mindful as we're going through, because anything can change in a moment's notice. Having said that, the next big portion. So really, I didn't do a May revise presentation because it was so close to when we were having this budget adoption. So one of the big maybe concerns or issues that is still kind of being worked out is how the state is going to deal with the Prop 98 deficits from prior years. CTA and the governor has reached a deal where they basically will dip into the school rainy day fund that the state has been building over the past several years. And essentially they won't claw any of that money back from districts. And it sounds like, based on what I read earlier today, that the legislature has kind of accepted the majority of that proposition or that plan that they've created. They are still going to probably do some negotiations in what's called the junior budget bill. So there might be some nuts and bolts that come out over the next probably month or so. They won't really change anything for districts. It might change things down the road on how Prop 98 is funded. So just some things to think about going forward. And so what'll kind of happen going forward, next 2 weeks, we will adopt a budget. We'll actually adopt our budget slightly before the state will. The state has to adopt their budget by June 30th. And then if there are any major revisions to that budget, the district will come back with a 45-day revision before, it's usually 45 days after the state adopts theirs, so by August 15th. And then in September, we will bring our 23-24 unaudited actuals. And then in December, we'll bring our first report of the 24-25 year. And with that, I will open it up to questions.
Well, thank you. Thank you for preparing all those numbers, and thank you for your time served with us. I didn't get to know you very much, but I appreciate everything you've done.
So we will be adopting our budget at our next meeting. Is that our plan?
Yes.
And you will not be here.
I will not.
But you'll have it all prepared and ready to go, and hopefully nothing changes. But
yeah, typically between the first read and second read, unless there's a major, like, hey, we forgot to add something in there, there's usually not too much change between first read and adoption. So I will provide all that for Dr. Sahakian to present for adoption at the 27th June 27th. So.
Well, we definitely appreciate you putting it all together and setting us up for the future, before you spread your wings. So thank you very much for doing this. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you big time. It's been fun working with you. You've been always pleasant, always knowledgeable. So thank you very much. Is it fair on the budget to blend the unrestricted and restricted for to show the total budget, considering there was a large deficit in the restricted or the unrestricted 20% from the beginning of this school year to the end of next school year, which is very concerning to me, and then continued reduction of the unrestricted funds going forward from there. It's offset by what we're assuming for the restricted stuff coming in, but you can't necessarily pull from restricted to pay for those deficits over there. So in the end, I think what we're really need to be concerned with is the fact that our balances in either are starting to shift, and those funds are just not as available to us as we would like them to be on the unrestricted side. So we'll need to be very cautious about what we can do to reverse that or mitigate that going forward. If that trend continues, it'll put us in a spot where we have a whole bunch of money sitting there that we can't use, and we can't use for rainy day funds and those sort of things.
Good. I do notice that the reserve is going down. I think I remember when it was high 40s. So everyone pay attention to that. I've always appreciated your ability to just stand up there and just free flow and go back and forth and be dynamic in that. I've seen boards where it would take a nod from a superintendent to have someone in your position to decide what number they wanted to present that day. I do have one little problem. The HR director where you're going is refusing to take my calls. I felt, compelled to share, and, I care about the public, and I just wanted to share how good it is to have you here and maybe why you're not the best fit over there, but I can't do that if they refuse to take my calls. I'm not a stalker. Okay. So thanks, man. We've enjoyed your work here. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
I'll second.
Before I turn it over to Mr. Vensko, before he takes off, this particular salary schedule covers 3 classifications. One is for occupational therapist, the other is for a master's of social work, and the third is licensed clinical social worker. So there was a correction adjustment made, and Mr. Vensko.
Yeah, I'll be first to admit I made a mistake on the last board agenda item from last meeting, and the 3% was not included. So this is
Fire
for any purpose. And yes, and then with that, I will rip right off. No, I'm kidding. But again, yeah. This is just as a correction so that formally recognized that there.
That's your mic drop?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all we'll remember.
Right.
Don't worry, there'll be plenty of other things. There'll be plenty of other things to get blamed on you after you leave. That's just the way.
I'm just starting the process here. No. That is it. The number.
How big was your mistake?
Oh, there is no monetary value because it was already budgeted.
Oh, it's free.
It's a free change.
We had a group on.
Oh,
Cameron, I.
Mays, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mascot, balls you have. Aye. Thank you.
All right. Graduations were great, all three of them. Congratulations on your graduation. And the one thing that I saw, and I'm new and I don't know, but sitting at Vasquez in a bunch of chairs and a stage, and then going to High Desert with a bunch of chairs set up, and then going to Meadowlark with a bunch of chairs set up. It seems like if we could maybe do something where they all are on the same platform, we could save a lot of or some money as far as chairs and people setting stuff up. Just an idea. I don't know. But other than that, thank you all. Have a good night.
Fran, I warned everybody.
I do have a list so that I don't ramble. I do want to start off by thanking my fellow board members for allowing me to miss 2 meetings in a row. I know it was a lot. It felt like a lot for me. I feel like I haven't been here in forever. So thank you very much for allowing me to do that and to be with the first one was I was with my students that at my school that I work with, and then the next one I was with my family. It was my son's playoff baseball game that I just wasn't willing to miss. So thank you very much for allowing me that leeway. um, I did I did read the agendas. I did go back and read through the minutes. I did look at all of the attachments, and I did contact Dr. Sahakian to ask what I missed in closed session. So I did feel comfortable and ready to come back. And I do feel informed, even though I did miss meetings. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I missed, but I didn't really miss out. What I did think that I missed out on, though, was telling you how amazing you are, Aislinn. And I'm so glad that you're here. And I was so excited when I walked out and saw you sitting there because I really felt that that was one part that I was feeling awful that I didn't get to like shower you with all of the compliments you deserve. So not only am I thankful that you are here, but I'm thankful that you've spent your school year with us. You were a fantastic representative for all 1,000 students that we have and our staff, always coming prepared, giving so much of your time, not just in the boardroom, but out and about as well. You're just a fantastic representative of your student body, and then also a fantastic representative of us, of the school board and the school district when you're out and about. So I just wanted to thank you for your dedication and your professionalism, and congratulations on graduation. You're like a real adult. So I hope you're feeling fantastic. I hope you're taking some time to just relax and still be a kid, and don't lose that part, and do not ever lose the part of you that isn't afraid to speak your mind and stand up and say you've had that since you were a little girl. I remember you speaking your mind at Meadowlark, and I just fell in love with your beautiful eyes and your curly hair when you were there. And you are just an amazing young woman, and I hope you never lose that spunk and that tenacity, and that's going to take you so far. So I'm so glad you're here for me to tell you that. So thank you for everything that you've given. On the showering with praise and thanks, Kevin, thank you very much for all you have given to our district. And it's not a goodbye for me, because I'm just going to say, don't forget the little people. So Kevin is going out to the district that I work for. So I'm very excited that I'm going to have you as my boss's boss's boss now. So very cool. Congratulations. And thank you for everything that you've done for our district and setting us up for success. Graduations and promotions. I know I got emotional in the last board meeting that I was at, talking about not being able to be at Vasquez and High Desert. I did look at all of the pictures that I absolutely could, and it looked like fantastic events, very cool. I was able to be at Metal Arcs promotion, always adorable. Those kids sang to us, super cute. So congratulations to our staff for all of the events. Congratulations to all of our kids that are moving on to the next grade. I do want to do a huge congratulations to our Vasquez team. From what I'm told, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is 3 years in a row of 100% graduation rate. That is huge. That's so like big congratulations to our students. Congratulations to our counseling staff, Nicole and Tiffany, and to Alexa Lepp. I know that they work so very hard making sure that every kid graduates. And I know that's not easy. I work at a high school, and it's not easy. There's kids that you can't reach and you can't get there, and they're turning work in at the 11th hour. And working with the teachers. So thanks to the whole staff there, teachers and classified staff. It is definitely a group effort, and that's with an interim principal. Just huge congratulations to all of the parents, the coaches, and the students that made that happen. So thank you very much to Vasquez staff that you make our district look good. So 3 years in a row with 100% graduation rate is just absolutely incredible. That's very awesome. I was able to make it to the ASMO performance. I love watching that ASMO performance at Vasquez. It makes it, there's so much room. It's nice and cool in there. The stage for those kids to be on, it was just a very well thought out, well put together performance. So thank you, ASMO, for that. Night of the Stars was absolutely fantastic. So many kids honored and so many kids with cool scholarships, and our kids really do amazing things. Thank you, staff, and across the district for an amazing 2023-24 year. And then I know most of you are already in to planning and super busy for the 24-25 year. So thank you very much for what you've done. And I hope you get to take some time to relax, and then let's go 24-25. And that's it. You're up.
I was here for everything. So. They were. It's always enjoyable this time of year. Definitely my favorite time of year. It's definitely packed, and just a big congratulations to everyone. The Vasquez graduation, I think there's so much potential that you're kind of witnessing, and you never know whose hand you're shaking or who you're talking to and who they're going to be. So it's just a really fun time. The High Desert always has a wonderful graduation. It actually takes longer than the Vasquez one, so there's more that goes into it, I think. But thank you.
Great, staff. Thank you for your service tonight. IT, you're always there. Ms. Van Orn, thank you for being here. Our charter partners, thank you for caring enough to be here to see what's happening. And I'd like to thank our board for another wonderful night of service. That is it for me. Calendar, we have a board meeting on June 27th, 2024. You'll see what's on the future agenda items. Does it sound like everybody's going to be able to make it? So what's going on? We will have a quorum. Good. And future agenda items, strategic plan, arts plan progress and recommendations for 2024, 2025. Can we, as part of that, make sure that there's a fiscal update on that as to what, why are you nodding your head? HR, you need to get on me quick. I'm getting way too much slack out there. 2024-25 LCAP adoption and 2024-25 budget adoption. Is there anything else? Hearing nothing. We will call this meeting adjourned at 9:31 p.m. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll second.
Good. Call to question.
Cameron, I.
Mays, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
That's good.
Paul's graph, aye.